Okay, so I'm going to give you the top 5 things that you should definitely do if you come to Seattle, because for me, it's what basically sealed the deal for me. May not necessarily be your thing, but for me, it actually was something that I found was really, really important. So Seattle has a lot of cool charm to it. There's the great thing about it is that there's so many different little neighborhoods that you feel like you're in a completely different city at different times. So for example, if you're in Ballard, for example, it's going to feel way different than the U District, which is going to feel way different than Greenwood and Finneywood and all of these different places. So you have this collection, this cluster of so many different neighborhoods with different vibes and different people. To be honest with you, some are more diverse than others. Some are more artsy. It just really depends. So one of the best things I can say is if you're going to come to Seattle, focus on one general area if you can, unless you're going to go out kind of far. If you go to Bellevue, for example, that's by itself going to be a vacation. But in Seattle, some of the top 5 things that I think that you should definitely do is take a trip to the different beaches. There are so many cool beaches here that are in the different neighborhoods that I mentioned. You have Alki Beach, which is in West Seattle. It's a really nice beach. It reminds me of a beach that would be in California. I guess because it has such it's very long beach, kind of narrow. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of places to eat and visit and go and see things. There's always little small events that happen there. It's a really, really cool place to go. However, like with most places, parking is just a nightmare. But Alki Beach, I would say, would be one of the best places to go when we're talking about West Seattle. Then, if we're talking about, like outside of, downtown and things like that, there's Edmonds Beach. Edmonds Beach is a little bit far, depending upon where you're staying at. But it's in the city of Edmonds, which is basically north of downtown Seattle. The beach there is a little bit smaller than Alki, but the reason why I like it is because it is just the waves seem to be a little bit more intense than some of the other beaches. Because of the way that Seattle is sitting, it's protected from the ocean. So there's a lot of different islands that kind of break it up a little bit. So you're not going to have monster waves. But when you go to Edmonds, you kind of get a little bit more stronger waves there. You see a lot more children there at that beach, so it's a really cool place to go. You can definitely find a lot of shells and things like that on the shore. It's also really cool too because you can watch all of the ferries come in and out of that area. So you can literally see car ferries leave and go to the near islands that are close by, Bainbridge and things like that. My final beach that I would probably highly suggest would be Golden Gardens. A lot of the videos that we post are from Golden Gardens. It's just a really, really cool beach. It's fairly large. It's more secluded, if you will, than these other beaches that I mentioned. Alki, you have a lot of stores. When you talk about Edmonds, there's not a lot of stores necessarily right there. But you can kind of get to a few restaurants that are around. But when it comes to Golden Gardens, there's really nothing. Now they do have a small, the what is it, the state, I believe. They have like a small area where you can go. It has bathrooms. It has like a little small convenience store type thing where they sell ice cream and sodas and different things like that. So it's really cool. But what's great about Golden Gardens is not only does it have a large playground that you can actually go and enjoy, and your kids can actually be addicted to that. It's based on age groups, so you have a playground for younger kids, and then you have one that's a little bit, crazy for a little bit older children. And then also with Golden Gardens, You can go there at nighttime and you'll see people who will have big bonfires on the beach, and you can picnic there pretty easily because they have all of these different grills and things like that. So it's really, really nice. Picnic tables everywhere. So it's really, really cool. You're able to see a lot of ships that actually go through that narrow channel. So that's what I would say in terms of some of the three things. If you're really talking about beaches, you can look on the map. You can find Golden Gardens. You can find Alki Beach, and you can also find the Edmonds Beach. Those are the three that I would say that I like the most. One of the things that you definitely have to check out too when you come to Seattle is Gasworks Park. Now, I thought before I was knocking it a little bit because I'm like, who wants to go see an old gas plant that's no longer working? However, one of the big things, if you really want a good photo of downtown Seattle, of where you can just see everything, Gasworks Park is the best place to go and do that, because you're able to see Seattle in a view that you've never really seen it before. There's other points that you can go to and you can actually kind of get a good view, but this is really close to downtown. It actually, if you're standing on the hill, there's different elevations as well. But if you're standing on the hill, you can literally see everything. You can see Mount Rainier in the background. You can see the Space Needle. You can even see there's a small airline that operates on the lake. And so they are called Kenmore Air, but they literally fly planes, seaplanes, off the lake. So not only are you able to see Mount Rainier and all of downtown, but you can see seaplanes literally coming up out of the water on a constant basis. You'll see the Ride the Ducks. They will actually, you'll see them in the water too around there as well. So it's really cool to kind of just see everything. You get a great view of different parts of the city just from that area. You can, in some areas, you can kind of see the university district. So it's a really, really cool place to go. You can see the crazy traffic on the interstates. So I would say Gasworks Park is definitely a place that you want to check out. It's also really interesting too, just from looking at what used to be here in Seattle. They have a lot of things that are decommissioned from back in the day when it was, a gas plant. But you're able to see all these different things and how life was really like back then. One of the other things I would suggest when coming here is there's a lot of different tours. There's tours in Seattle that talk about like the underground part of Seattle. And what they're talking about is that Seattle at one point had a lot of massive hills, and it still does, but they've actually tore down a lot of those hills back in the day. So a lot of areas are infill. So if you look at the Stadium District, all of that was at one point sea. And they literally flattened out a lot of hills, and they literally created land that was reclaimed. And that's what a lot of the stadium area is sitting on. And also a lot of Chinatown is sitting on that same regrade. So they actually had these massive hills. They turned on these powerful water cannons, and they leveled out the hills using high pressured water. This was done way back when, a long time ago. But what happened is a lot of the city, which was built with the elevation, was covered. So a lot of the old businesses and things like that are covered. Well, there's tours that you can go here in the city that you can actually see the old parts of Seattle. Some of the tours are more geared towards adults because they start talking about the history of prostitution and how it made the city of Seattle what it was at the time, and if it wasn't for that, the city wouldn't have actually made it. And then the other tours are more for families, where they kind of skip that part a little bit, and then they talk about everything else. But I would say definitely do it. You find a lot about the history and some of the major things that they had to do in order to really make the city possible. What's really cool about it too is that some of these places in Seattle had, like there would be a street up here, and then 30 feet below would be a business, and over here there would be another business that's like sitting up a little bit higher. Everything was so uneven, and they show pictures of people climbing ladders to go from one side of the street to the other. because of this crazy regrade that they were doing and all of that stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So I would say definitely check out some of the tours about underground Seattle. Now, obviously, the next one is what most people actually come here and they see, and that is Pike Place Market. It is amazing. Now, if you do not like crowded places, I would suggest probably avoiding Pike Place Market. It is always busy. Obviously, you can go there and watch people throw fish, but you can go there and find some of the freshest seafood ever. That's really amazing, really, really good. You can go there and get some of the best cut flowers that you can ever find. I mean, they have everything there. It is truly a paradise. There's tons of restaurants all over the place, and actually the first Starbucks ever in the world is actually a little bit, it's not in the main building of Pike Place Market, but it's actually out. But you're able to get to it within, I mean, you could throw a rock and hit it. But you can actually go there and check it out. There's a place that makes cheese. There's places that make beer. There's so many different things with Pike Place Market that if you're really a foodie or something like that, you could spend all day just looking at different things there. From there's a place just right there too that sells these dried apples. I mean, they're bomb. It's good. I mean, they sell all types of dried fruit. It's just really, really, really good. Chocolates, you name it, everything is there at Pike Place Market. So I would say definitely do it. If you're looking for kind of an adventure type of thing, I would definitely also say, and this is within walking distance of Pike Place Market, I would say definitely the Waterfront. The Waterfront has a lot of different things going on. Now, right now, there's a lot of construction going on because they're digging a tunnel literally underneath the city to put a highway underneath it. So there's a lot of construction and stuff like that going on. They're doing a complete rebuild of the Waterfront, so everything is going to look a lot different. A lot of the businesses have been shut down for a little bit. I think a lot of them are opening back up now. But the Waterfront offers a lot of different things. So you're able to go out on some of the piers and just kind of hang out. You're able to go out there and fish. You'll see people at night actually fishing for lobster, fish, you name it, right there, right in downtown. It's really, really cool. But there's so many different restaurants to go to right there on the waterfront. It's really, really busy all the time. So there's restaurants that are kind of high end. There's some that's kind of middle of the road, and then there's some that are just kind of more affordable. So there's a wide range in terms of eating. You can also go what's called, I think, the Big Wheel or the Big Eye or whatever it is. I forget what it's called, but it is a huge Ferris wheel downtown, and it's really nice. What's really kind of freaked me out and freaked the girls out, and when I say girls, I also include my wife, was they stop. So the wheel turns and it stops. Half the wheel is hanging off the water. So, I mean, you look down and there's nothing but just water straight below you. So it's kind of freaky in a way because you're just hanging there. So again, I don't want to give too much out for people who've never actually done it. So that's another thing that you definitely want to check out if you were to come to Seattle. So I probably exceeded the 5 that I had mentioned. There's many, many things more that you can actually do here, but these are some of the things that I would say you definitely want to go do. Definitely go out and experience different parts of the city, different neighborhoods, because that's kind of what you're going to get the feel of what Seattle is about. Different neighborhoods are way different than, the ones that may be across the street. What happens in Fremont is going to be way different than what happens in, Magnolia. So everything here is kind of different. First Hill is different than Capitol Hill, for example, Even though they're kind of close by, you'll see the differences here. So definitely go out. If you come here, go to the different neighborhoods if you're able to. Check out all the different beaches that we have. I put up 3 that I thought would really be kind of, they're my favorite, that you might really like. You definitely want to go to Gasworks Park. I think that it's really a great place to go to take pictures, to picnic, and do different things like that, and take the city in. You definitely also want to go and consider Pike Place Market. A lot of people go there, but it's something you definitely want to consider. Make sure you get involved in a tour. It can be an underground tour, an above ground tour that actually goes around the city and it shows you what different parts of Seattle is about, because there's a lot of history here. You can't really go wrong when it comes to a lot of these things because it's a different experience that they're going to give you. So that's all I have. And until next time, I'm going to see you. Take care.